Hi everybody, welcome to my channel for new battle report. This time practice game against Saurian Ancient. Wanted to get some practice against them. Yeah, and my list didn't change since the last game, since I'm still thinking about some other options. But for the moment I wanted to get more games with this exact list. So didn't change anything. And this was my opponent's list. So I was playing a blocky Saurian Ancient list, as you can see, with 3 available chaff skink unit. Scoring wise, he had a big unit of Cayman Warrior, big unit of Elder, 15 Tegu Warrior, 21 Skink Warrior, and 3 Stygiosor with the champion. Lots of spell, as you can see. So Enclave Wizard, Enclave Wizard, Enclave Wizard, the big Archmage, who is Master Alchemy and has also 2 spell of Pyromancy. On the Warden option, really like this option, giving him the leadership 8 and mainly the 5 health point and the 4 armor save and some strength 5 attacks, so decent option I felt. And then he tried out to maximize the weapon beast options. They are quite expensive but can do a lot of damage, but it's pretty short range, so I need to pay attention to that. And he kept the Titanopod in the list with the Suncatcher Crystal, which is not bad at all because he has some strength 4 grind in addition to his other stomp attack, which generates a lot of automatic hits. So I felt it's really interesting. Settings of this battle: we had Dawn Assault, King of the Hill, which can be sometimes a bit drawish if depending who can get the side and who has the superiority in close combat. You could decide to pick something in a zone where your opponent cannot really push into. So we'll see what we get here. Regarding the spell, yeah, I just decided to go with double fireball and 2d6 strength 4. I felt the 3 damage spell of Pyro can do a lot in this matchup, especially against the skinks. And then I picked Savage Fury as a spell that can be useful from range to frenzy bait him, but also in close combat to give me 4 buffs. And I have obviously Jingle. On the right you have his spell section, so as you can see he has so many spells, 10 spell I think in total, plenty of combat buff, also doing a lot from range. So yeah, as it's an awesome magic phase like Saurian can do, so he really took advantage from that. Matchup analysis: he has a solid list with some blocks and amazing magic to buff that, which can make his combat block really good in combat, better than what you could expect sometimes. So I think you need especially to pay attention. If he can charge, you don't know what you can really expect. So get the charge and be sure what are the buff in the combat before you engage is key in this battle. Shooting, short range but potentially devastating. This is going to be my first range damage target. Obviously here the damage spell from Pyromancy can do some work. Short range chaff, so I need to pay attention what he can do. We can chaff up to 12 inch. So I think to get the right distance in the first turn is key to maintain him as a medium to long distance and not allow him to chaff me easily, and then to get an advantage because he has more threats than me. Threaten the weapon beast with the Frosty if I need to because of the leadership. I noticed that he has only leadership 6, so if he move out of the bubble to get some interesting shot, maybe the Frosty can do something. And also why the Frosty and not the Giant is the fact that he's more resilient to the shooting that the weapon beast can do. 1-on-1 combat between my block and his block should be in my favor, and the secondary and deployment could be hard to win and easy to draw. We will see. It depends a lot who can pick. If I can pick, I can make it hard for him to defend it. And depends a lot who gets that. I rated it at slightly positive. I felt I'm superior in combat power. So if I can get a secondary objective that could be the same, maybe pick the same than his and push into, I could potentially win the secondary. So I felt I have more chance than him to win the secondary. Deployment. So he won roll for side and decided to pick the Rin, which is very hard to reach for me because of this Impossible and the Dawn Assault. So he picked the Rin, I picked just the lake, which is hard for him to reach as well. And then I drop for first turn. I put the Giant on the left, a Tribesman unit that's going to move around here. The dogs, the shooting Mercvet with the BSB, Tribesman, the Death Star with the remaining characters, the combat Mercvets and the Frosty on the far right. And he marked those 2 units with his Predator markers. His counter deployment, so he put on each side the weapon beast. The Titanopod on the far right is going to move around in his weak flank. Then here you have the Tegu, the Stygio, the Skinks with the 2 characters, the Elders, Cayman Warrior. So those 2 units are his best combat units, going to try to defend the Ruin. and the Slan, the Archmage, in the small skink unit. And as you can see from my deployment, so he decided to minimize what the Murkrats. That's what I liked about this position. I wasn't too annoyed by the hill, and I was pretty sure he's going to minimize my shooting, which push him all the way back, which is going to allow me to push hard turn 1. My turn 1, so I push hard. March 12 with both combat unit, positioned the Frosty in a solid position, so he wanted to be sure that I cannot hit him with any range damage, so he hide those guys behind the Titanopod. But the downside of that is I can push freely without getting charged. Yeah, push with the rest. I was a bit more patient with the shooty guys because it's just out of range, so I felt I might need more time to push a bit more on the right, and I start to move on the left. In the magic phase, I think I tried to get he dispelled both fireballs, but I got chilling goal on those guys in case he wants to move forward and shoot me, and I fail on 2 dice 2d6 strength 4, so nothing crazy this turn 1. His turn 1 moves to the sides with Titanopod and the 4 weapon beasts, trying to create some angles, so it's going to spread around the map to force me to attack at multiple parts, which is always annoying. Pushes a bit the skink forward to be ready to chaff if he needs to. Move those guys in the ruin, moves the slime to the side, the Archmage, to get some spells on my giant and Troisman. In the magic phase, he got Silver Spike. He tried to Silver Spike my shooting Murkrats. I dispelled that. Then he failed Swarm of Insect. Quicksilver Large did 1 wound to my giant. Not too bad. And then he did Pyro Flow on 2 dice on my giant and managed to do 3 wounds, I guess. So it's not a bad start for him at all. My turn 2, I push a bit forward with my unit, decide to hide the giant and the scoring for now. I'm able to get a range with the Pyro Mage that jumped here onto the skink unit and the shooting as well, so I felt maybe I can threaten a bit the Slan. I push a bit here, but I was still careful about how he could potentially chaff me and how could I punish what he might do. And I also wanted to keep the Tegu Guard. Even if they march, they will be still in the arc of the Death Star that could punish his movement. Move those guys on the hill, push a bit the Frosty to... basically, I told him, you cannot escape my line of sight. Even if you move all the way to the back here in the corner, I'm going to charge you and terror you. And it's a check on a 6. If you fail that, that's 400 points for me. So it's going to be interesting. In magic phase, roll 111 on Pyroclastic Flow, so annoying on the skinks. He dispelled the fireball, the first one. He dispelled Chilling Goal on the weapon beast, and I only got 1 fireball on the skink here. I killed 2 skinks, so not crazy. Got +1 resilience, but I wasn't able to put it on the frost. I was a bit too fast. That was a mistake, so I was able only to get on those guys in case he march and shoot. But I think here I should have find a way to buff the Frosty that is more in danger. And with shooting, I kill 5 skinks, so not a lot remaining next to the Archmage. He panicked because he's on 4 dice, so it's 8 minimize, maximize, rollable. He failed both and went off the board, but I told him to put him back on the field because I think it's more interesting. It's a training game, so there is no sense by having the Archmage off the board turn 2. His turn 2, he moved the weapon beast that way to shoot my Frosty. It's going to be interesting. Moved that way to make it a long charge, and he was able to escape the line of sight of those guys. I could have potentially angled a bit better to avoid that, or at least get a charge here. So I felt not perfect by me. The rest, they just repositioned Slime behind the unit. The rest just backed a little bit, moved a bit back. Silver Spike did 1 wound to the shooting Murkrats. He failed Pyroclastic Flow on the dogs on 2 dice. I dispelled Swarm of Insect, dispelled the regen on the heal on those guys. And shooting, he did 3 wounds to my Frosty, which is a bit more than what he should. He should have done more like 2 wounds, but nothing too crazy as well. My turn 3, so I'm going to take that charge. That was my plan. I know that he could potentially kill me from stand shoot and then close combat, but I have to try it. It's a check on a 6, minimize. I charge and he failed, go off the board. So that's nice for me. I didn't think about it at the time because I thought that this guy could potentially stomp me, and it's also divided by 2, like the large against the large unit. But actually that doesn't work. I learned that a bit later in the game. It doesn't work against gigantic. So I think here the right move would have been to try to redirect the charge, which is a check on the 8, so I could have failed it. But then to try to charge Titanopod just to stick him in place and push hard with the Murkrats and try to kill him after. So I think that would have been the right play here, which I didn't think about at the time because I didn't know that the Stomp doesn't work on the Frosty. So I think with the few attacks that he has, and I have a charge, a flank, a big flank, I have good chance of winning this combat. I think so. He has +1 combat res and 2d3 strength 4 AP1, so wound on 6 up. Only 2 attacks, strength 6, couple of skinks attack. I have a couple of strength 6 attacks, so I think I could win it and potentially break him. So yeah, would have been nice to try that. Other than that, yeah, forming battle lines, still keeping decent distance from that. He has a lot of threats looking at me, so I felt if he chaffs me and push a bit around, he could get good option, and then chaff me again, and the Death Star could be out of the game, and those guys a bit alone against the rest. So I felt, let's be patient for now. I get Pyroclastic Flow on the Spearback. Those guys did 3 wounds. And then a Fireball on the Skinks. Kill another Skink. Put 1 wound on the Slan. Shooting did 2 wounds to those guys. Has only 1 wound left. Passes the panic check. And that's it. His turn 3. Uses my Frosted Mammoth fail charge against me. And pushes the Titanopod in the front to make it minimize contact. Only 1 guy in base contact. Typically, yeah, what single model can do against large unit, which is always frustrating. The rest just stayed like it was. In the magic phase, I got Pyroclastic Flow, did 3 wounds to the Tigers, didn't matter much for me. Then I dispelled the heal on the Skinks, and he got Silver Spike, did 2 wounds to my Giant that has only 1 wound left, unfortunately. And let's go to my turn 4. I was able with 6 to move just out of arc. I think here's a mistake from him. He should have angled a bit more. So I can get 2 the Hunting Spear, which are interesting. I think it hits on 3 up, wounds on 5 up. So if I get some wounds. Here I was within 11. I had in mind that I could cast the Frenzy spell. Could be interesting. And I attempted to cover all the position he might do within BSB and General's range in case of the terror check. And the rest just push slowly. I moved the Giant and I started to prepare what I might do for the secondary. Want to push. I get D6. I move my mage here, so I got a Fireball on this unit. Kill the remaining Skinks. Then I dispels my 2d6 strength 4 and so on the Slan. And I was able to get the Frenzy spell here. Going to be interesting. It's a 6 minimize, maximize. We'll see. And then shooting, I did 6 wound to the Stygia, so huge phase from the Mercvets. And the Javelot, yeah, both Hunting Spear, sorry, in English. I failed to hit 2 times on 3 up, so nothing done here. His turn 4, he failed the Frenzy check and charged my Mercvets that are going to strike before. So this is going to be really interesting. Other than that, yeah, he still couldn't escape my line of sight here, so he moved a bit sideways, moved out of the way with the Spearback, and the rest just repositioned to defend this piece of terrain. Discharge was a 7th Swift Ride that he got, obviously. I Binding Scroll the regen, which is the only buff that the Titanopod could get. Could be really annoying. I Dispel on the Tribesman, those guys, the 2d6 strength 4. Swarm of Insects did 2 wounds to my bruises. And then the heal on 1 dice fail. And with 3 dice against 3, I Dispel the Silver Spike, so my Giant is still alive. Shooting did 1 wound to my Mercvets with the Skin guy. And close combat. This is what we did. So I did 9 wounds, which is slightly above average. So I did good. Could have one-shot him. As you can see, there is like 22% chance that I one-shot him. So not bad, but I did 9 wounds, which is definitely not bad. And he did, this is divided by 2 because this is the stomp attack. I couldn't do the exact chart because of the 5d3 divided by 2, but he did 4 wounds, which is pretty average. 2 wounds with the guy on the beast, which is pretty average, and nothing with the Skinks. So he lost by 1 at the end, but that could have been a draw, as you can see. I could have lost as well, so it's more risky combat than what I thought, to be honest. So I felt this wasn't the right play here. I should have chaffed with the Frosty and then punish him by charging with the Mercvets, which get then some impact hits, which change a lot the stats. So yeah, not perfect here. I took a bit of a risk, to be honest. I wasn't punished for it, so he broke from combat, and I decided to restrain and just reform. Post-combat pivot. My turn 5, charge with the Frosty, the Fleeing Titanopod, catch him, charge on the 9 Swift Ride from next to the hill, but not on the hill. Those guys got the charge in, which is nice. Chaff here and start pushing with the scoring unit, but didn't find a perfect solution here. I didn't want to push too much because he could just turn around, move in front of me. So I felt I didn't found the best option here for the secondary. And yeah, I'm still a bit too far from with my remaining unit. What happened in the magic phase? I get fireball, kill the spearback, so that's some points. Then I think I failed the hereditary, put +1 resilience on this one in case it attempted some multiple charge here. And with shooting I did another 2 wounds to the Stigio, so there was only 1 left. Close combat I one-shot those guys, turn around, so no restraint check to do. Yeah, the output is crazy. And that's his turn. I charge the flank with the Stigio, chaffs my big unit here. As you can see, I'm not well positioned to get it. He can just defend, move out of the way. Magic, he gets a Quicksilver Lash, kills the giant. And then I break here. He decided to pursue, which I think in hindsight is a mistake. Should have just restrained and let me flee, because he could have ended up in front of them and then just chaffing his own unit and allow me to push a bit more. So I think not perfect what he did here. But I'm not in a position to punish the Stigio here. I cannot really charge him, so this is not great. On my turn 6, I charge here the king. They fled all the way over here. And I cannot really charge here because he could just either flee or just get me after, and I'm too far to chaff them, so not great. And here I just getting rid of the chaff. What I completely missed, if you look at this position, I could have easily tried to kill the Slan, because my Mercvets were here, so I could have just positioned those guys. Basically, those guys cannot charge here. Here, I cannot charge out if I move those guys out of the way. So there's no way he could reach them, so I could have just push a bit forward the Mercvets here to get good shots here. Only charge with the Great Khan to get the Pyro Mage in the Mercvets to get some blast. And I think I have a small chance to getting rid of the Slan, or at least get half point. So I think he missed something, could have positioned better, a bit more hidden, because I have some good line of sight here to get at least 4 Mercvets shooting well, plus the BSB that doesn't care. So I felt, yeah, he took a bit of a risk, and I completely missed that. And his turn 6, yeah, nothing crazy. I didn't manage to kill the remaining Stigio with the magic and shooting, which is annoying. Just turn around, try to do some magic, but nothing happened. And he charged with the Cayman here. I prepared a free pass to just give away half point. Ended up being a 14-6. I wasn't able to get secondary. I think I moved too far in the direction of it and not quick enough and not fast enough. So he took from me half the Tribesman, the Giant, and the Saber-Tooth Tiger that I gave away a bit for free. I didn't allow me to push more. I wasn't able to countercharge, so I was a bit disappointed about my use of the expensive Saber-Tooth Tiger unit. Post-game analysis, so I have super combat power, which meant I was able to get board control, and also since I was starting, I was able to push him. Secondary, hard to reach, push too late for it. I think also my deployment wasn't 100% optimal. I put him under pressure, but didn't found the solution to attack. Like I said, I think it's turn 4 that I need to push more with the Tigers and Tribesmen, so I need to activate the Tiger a turn before. The Titanopod combat was riskier than what I thought, so I should have trapped with the Frosty. Yeah, didn't allow me to do anything, the rest I told you already. And I was rather lucky on 2 key moments, the terror check on the weapon team and the close combat against the Titanopod, so I know that my right flank happened to do well, but could have been completely different. So I don't think it was great what I did. And deployment-wise, I felt what could have given me more option. I didn't really expected the Titanopod to be on my weak flank, which was a mistake. What I should have done, I think, put the pistol merc that are, no matter what, going to be minimized in deployment. Could have just pushed them on the hill turn 1, march, and then put the combat unit more on the left, and close as possible from his piece of train. So the halberd here, the Death Star a bit more to the left, and that are able to push a bit more, and the Mercvets to really to cover this flank and cause him trouble from range with the support of the Frosty that was always going to cause him some issues. So I think then he would have deployed probably differently, maybe the Titanopod going on the far left, which allow me most likely to push even more with the shooting Mercvets to march even more, and then form a battle line that gives me probably more chances to reach his piece of train. At least that's what I felt. Guys, that's all for this battle report, so not a lot of actions, but still some learnings for me, and yeah, it was good training for me. And I will talk to you soon in a new battle report. Bye bye!